Well, welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. It's been a while since we've done one of these, and I know both Theresa and I are excited to dive into this really exciting topic that seems to be more and more daily news and soon to become part of daily life. But before I introduce today's presenter, I've got just a few things that I would like to use this opportunity to update you on in regards to NAC. The first thing I'd like to mention, and you've probably seen it, but make sure that you mark your calendars for the 2024 Concession and Hospitality Expo. That's going to be on July 16th at the Marriott St. Louis Grand in St. Louis, Missouri. Spent some time down there a few months ago, and going to be a great venue, and we've got some exciting things planned. So stay tuned for more. You'll be seeing all kinds of information in the days, weeks, and months to come. I also wanted to remind you from our friends from CinemaCon that registration for that event is open. It's on April 8th through 12th of 2024. As far as NAC is concerned, we've got committee meetings on Sunday, April 7th. So if you're on a committee or the board, make sure you circle that. We'll have our charity golf event on Monday, April 8th, bright and early in the morning. During the week, we'll have our booth and our meeting rooms that we normally have. And then we'll also be hosting a seminar on Thursday, April 11th. The topic is still being worked on, but some of the perspective topics are really fascinating. So we're going to have something really good for you. So make sure that you stop in on that bright and early on Thursday morning at CinemaCon. I know everybody wants to be up really early on Thursday morning in Las Vegas. And then I think some of the big news that I think most of you realize is that we are investigating a rebrand of the National Association of Concessionaires to the Entertainment, Food, and Beverage Association. So I just want to bring you up to speed on what the planned timeline for that is. We're planning on finalizing that all at the CinemaCon board meeting. And then the transition is going to be taking place throughout 2024 and really using elements of our new brand at Expo in St. Louis. So we see 2024 as really a transition year between the two brands, and then at some point we will be known as Entertainment, Food, and Beverage Association. So that brings me to today's special guest. Theresa Boysen has been a member for a while now, a very active member. She took a little bit of a pause for a career change, but came back again in a entrepreneurial venture, and she quickly became a member of NAC once again. But Theresa actually holds both her ACS and ACE designations from our educational programs. So I think that just goes a long way toward really solidifying Theresa's commitment to education, the educational process. And when you see her qualifications that she's going to present to you, you'll see that that's really true. So she's also been a former regional vice president of NAC, and she was the co-chair of our outreach committee at one time. Again, she rejoined just last year, and I'm sure we're going to get her involved in some of those things again. The voluntelling is about to start. But Theresa, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you. And please take us through this kind of incredible world. I'll just start with just a brief story. Theresa showed me her material about a week and a half ago. And since then, I started to dive in, and very fast on some very helpful things. She really got me going, and I think that's my hope for all of you today too, is to get everybody going, start investigating, develop the right questions. You can use the Q&A function today if you have questions. We don't mean this as a monologue, so please do that, and I will try and monitor those questions as best I can. But Theresa, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. Let me swap my screen sharing here. All right. Are you able to see my presentation?
Looks good, Theresa.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Chris. Thanks for that generous introduction. Hopefully I'll be able to live up to it. My goal for today is that you have enough information that you're curious, kind of want to mess around with this stuff, but that you feel confident knowing that you can discuss this and ask the appropriate questions when it comes up. Sometimes part of the kind of, I guess, bad magic of technology is that it seems so detached and it seems so far away from the normal application of stuff you do every day. So the focus is really on something that's been a hot topic and how it can reasonably be applied really in anybody's role. So again, thank you, Chris. I am so thrilled to be here today presenting on a topic that has captured my imagination and curiosity. Before we get started though, I want to thank you, Chris, for having me today and for working with me to get this all set up. It's a ton of work behind the scenes and we all really appreciate it. I want to thank everybody who registered and you're taking the time out to join us. And I want to thank the leadership team at Earth Ranch for supporting the ongoing partnership with NAC. No doubt you've seen headlines like this, or maybe your technology vendors are urging you to upgrade to accommodate new AI functions. Maybe even when you signed into Zoom, you saw all the new AI flashes that were coming up depending on the type of program you have. Love it or hate it, AI is everywhere. In today's session, I'll give a very broad overview of some of the basic terms and concepts of AI. Then we'll explore some potential use cases and functions. I'll demo the infamous ChatGPT, discuss some of the concerns relating to this technology, and leave you with resources to learn more if you choose to dig deeper. My goal for this session is that you leave with enough information to know what's important to you and feel confident asking questions when it comes up in conversation. As Chris said, I'm Theresa Boysen, Sales and Marketing Director for Special Markets at Earth Ranch. I'm also a faculty member of College Unbound and a user of AI technology. I'm here to share some of the ways I've discovered AI to be very helpful. Starting early, that lovely photo of me there, it's AI generated. I wish my hair behaved that well. It's not an actual photo of me. I took that photo sitting right here at my computer chair. And AI gave me lots and lots of variations of it. This is a pretty reasonable one. Some of them were pretty hilarious. I think I shared some of those with Chris. And if you want to join the Zoom chat following this, where we can be a little more live and interactive, I'll share some of those too. So I know what you're thinking when you see this slide. There's going to be a quiz later. There's nothing to memorize here. But when we talk about new technology, it always helps me to understand where it started. So John McCarthy is credited as coining the term credited with coining the term artificial intelligence or AI in the late 1950s. My favorite explanation of AI technology is IBM's definition, which is up here. Artificial intelligence leverages computers and machines to mimic the problem-solving and decision-making capabilities of the human mind. The important thing to think about here is prior to 1949, computers could only execute commands, not store them. Very much like onboarding a new employee that refuses to take notes. They could do, but they couldn't remember what they did and they couldn't replicate the process again. So think of AI as an experienced team member able to retain and synthesize data to contribute to the conversation or project. Again, no need to start making flashcards to memorize this. In fact, I'm going to skim through a lot of the background information because I anticipate this group wants to focus on how AI can make their lives easier or better. But I'm happy to send this deck to anybody interested in taking a closer look. And I've included references for this data for further reading at the conclusion. The brief evolution in AI technology began in theory and research in the 1950s and continuously improved as programmers honed their algorithm skills. Basically, we became better and better at providing the right information and then asking the right questions in the right way. Bit of background, I want to clarify before diving into the application possibilities of the newest advances of AI tools is the difference between weak and strong AI. I think sometimes as soon as people think AI, they think, Terminator. That is what would sort of be defined in a lot of sci-fi movies as the general or strong AI. That is theoretical right now. It's being worked on. Apparently, we learned nothing from the film industry. You would think maybe we did, but it's being worked on. But narrow or weak AI has been around for a long time. You use it all the time. You use it as spell check. You use it for Google Maps, the S word, the G word, and what am I forgetting here? The A word. All of those, which I can't say, or else all of our houses and offices and phones will start doing stuff. All of that is artificial intelligence. Just about every industry is being tasked to explore AI and what it means for their roles, their customers, and their workforce. We've heard we can anticipate efficiency gains, cost reductions, improved decision-making, and enhanced customer experience. But the key to all of these gains is using AI for what it is and not relying on it for everything. As I said, everybody's been using spell check. Who here is now a worse speller than they were in grade school thanks to spell check? When you rely on AI too much, you tend to miss things for sure. Who's had an autocorrect gone wrong? Definitely. So you have to keep in mind what you're going to be using it for, how you're going to incorporate it, and the people that you're bringing onto your project need to know your goals and understand the potential variables involved continuously monitoring and adjusting the technology. For example, customer experience. It's very convenient to have a chatbot tell your facility hours so employees can be freed up to interact with face-to-face patrons. It's a great option to allow for digital communication, even on site, to mitigate language barriers, neurodivergencies, persons who may be differently abled that can interact with digital assets much easier than people potentially. But what about the people who want to deal with people? Are they still at your facility, and are you still meeting their needs? Are you still teaching your staff how to appropriately meet their needs? Or is everybody just going to be freed by the bot and let everything else go? So you have to have somebody doing a reality check to say, is this really meeting all of our needs in the way we need it to? So kicking off the departmental lightning round here with some potential applications in various areas of the organizations. Sales and marketing, of course, I'm going to be biased and start with sales. You can use AI to help identify low-hanging fruit from your lead list while still maintaining regular touch points with projects that may be a little bit further out. A lot of CRM programs, communication programs, will have workflows for marketing and sales systems tuned into individual customer needs for support. I notice right now when I'm planning social media advertising, I'm getting prompts for the times my audience is most likely to be engaging, and I'm timing my posts for that time. Of course, copywriting to get over writer's block. It's a great use of AI. Just be really careful and always remember to proofread and edit anything you're sending. I have likened my chat GPT to a really over-caffeinated intern. You get a lot of information back. You get some cool perspectives you never thought of. You get some stuff that is absolutely incorrect. You need to proofread what it is. Customer service. Prompt and consistent customer responses at all hours. How great is it to be able to sit and know the message that your customers are getting? And again, in theory, it's freeing up employees to handle more face-to-face interactions. Hopefully that's actually happening. You can also quickly identify trends in product responses and level of service to see where your customers are hearing about you and where they're talking about you. Operations. I bet many of you are familiar with computer systems that kick out usage analysis and inventory forecasting. Hugely helpful, definitely not 100% accurate, especially if it's looking at year over year in entertainment venues. a good place to start, but you need an actual person that understands what's going on to read through and adjust that data. You need somebody that knows the variables. Predictive maintenance, automated prompts for training and reskilling and upskilling new employees, that may be a little more accurate and helpful. And that tends to fall off a lot of people's plates because it's just something that is not on the calendar. So reminders for that could be very useful. All of these provide great starting points to build from. Finance. Does anybody remember when you used to take checks and sometimes those checks would bounce? So you've already seen AI at work when you've been using some of those automated systems to make sure that payments will process. Hopefully you're already seeing some good advances in credit authorization. But what about financial forecasting and investment planning? Is anybody else using predictive modeling to view their retirement savings trajectory? Or is that just me? Resume screeners, employee scheduling, onboarding, upskilling. There are a lot of great uses for AI in HR. This seems like one of the simplest areas AI can support, but it's actually one of the scariest, which leads us into ethics, considerations and cautions of AI integration. There's more to AI ethics than the concern that AI is cranking out student homework, which of course, we've heard a lot of, but students have been able to cheat on homework since we could copy out of the encyclopedia. So there will always be a way there. Hot button issue here pertaining to HR. Can AI discriminate? Yes, very often and not intentionally, but that doesn't make you or your organization any less responsible for the outcome. The two examples here were highlighted by the Society for Human Resource Management. In the first case, Amazon found itself in hot water when the algorithm for their applicant rating system used was found to favor men over women, since most of the resumes they used to train the tool came from men. When they were supposed to be looking for skills, they were also associating some common names to find commonality. Remember those tools. Remember, these tools need data to work with, but they do exactly what they're telling them to do. Reminds me kind of a lot of Amelia Bedelia, if anyone's familiar with the good old kids' books. In the second example, an ATS is trained to weed out applicants with significant resume gaps. Well, without context, this may inadvertently disqualify a candidate who missed time to undergo medical treatment and therefore be a prime example of discrimination. AI also relies on mass amounts of data. Where is it coming from? And do we always know who's getting our information and what they're using it for? Zoom was in trouble a while ago for allegedly swiping chat conversations and content to train their new AI models. Zoom had changed its terms of service in March of 2023, and under the new terms, Zoom claimed the right to use your video, audio, and chat data for its artificial intelligence programs. But one of the new tools in the AI Zoom's AI tools is a meeting summary function. To use that, you would have to be able to provide that data. So if you're providing all of that information for your own meeting summary, that's one thing. They were also found to be training their customer service reps using that data. So you do have to be careful about what's going on and what's being said, what's being captured. What about surveillance technology? Do we really trust that facial recognition and location tracking software used in the name of national safety and security is never ever misused? Laws are having a really hard time keeping up with ever emerging new technology. When using this, just be mindful of where your data is coming from and also what you're plugging into it. Which takes me to the last point of AI ethics: garbage content. Fake photos, fake quotes, fake stories, fake news, and fake fact checkers. I may not have gone to medical school, but if I wanted to start a holistic healing site and throw this on it, I'd look pretty qualified to offer medical advice. This, again, is just the same AI generator. Microsoft is in hot water right now for laying off a chunk of their editors in favor of bot checkers. Combine that decision with content feeds generated entirely on clickbait algorithms, and you have general widespread panic pertaining to the state of the world according to your personal news feed. The last point there, I think, is of particular interest to this industry. Artists are seeing their works generated into new content and then offered for free or at a profit to the new creator. Copyright laws have not been able to protect against AI exploitation. Original visual art, song lyrics, music, even voices have been used without permission to train AI models. So with all that, how do you know when you should or shouldn't use AI? I added this infographic here from AI for Education. It's designed for school, but I think the thought process really carries over well. Basically, the call outs here: brainstorming, creating a basic template, clarifying or summarizing, synthesizing information, or exploring alternative perspectives. These are all great uses. You don't want to use AI to completely generate something. When I wanted that picture, I uploaded a picture of myself and used that as well. I didn't just say, generate a headshot of somebody who knows what they're talking about for AI. With the camera off, and if most of you didn't know me, that might have worked. It probably would have looked more official too, but probably not the correct use for AI. All right, so enough history and scary warnings. Let's start playing with some of this cool tech. Okay, one more planning here. Before you jump down the rabbit hole, have a plan, especially if you're working with a team. A plan can instill some guardrails to keep you out of trouble. Many companies are creating AI policies for their employees. You may even find popular AI sites blocked by your tech, legal, or HR departments. Even if you're a robust team of one on a project, it still helps to take a moment to think about what you want to accomplish and the data you want contributing to the end result. And of course, please don't trust anything without verifying the information. Make sure you're checking the information that you're given. These are a lot of AI tools. I don't expect you to read this, but again, I can share this deck out if you want to reference it later. Some of these services are paid, some are not. And if you're going to pay for anything, know where they're getting their data and how you can use the work that you output from it. I use ChatGPT and Canva daily, Adobe Firefly occasionally, but it is really cool when I do get to use it. I just haven't played with it enough because I haven't needed it just yet. All right, so now a demo. Let me switch over here. All right, Chris, can you see my little ChatGPT window up? Excellent. If you haven't played with this yet, I do recommend it. Again, please don't put anything confidential in here. You know, don't put any kind of rewording this private contract or anything like this. You know, I don't trust the security at all with some of this stuff. You're all welcome, of course, to dig into it further and understand more and hopefully come back and tell us all more about it more in depth. But I'm going to start with, yeah, go ahead.
Theresa, could I just maybe interject there too? Maybe just a little bit of why, right? You want to be careful what you put in. As I understand it, things that you put in this become part of the collective
Yes.
information base. So
they become part of the data that you're coming for the next suggestions. Very good point. So especially if you're putting something in to give you an edge on one of your competitors, you're not going to want to put that private information in. This is really all of that stuff. I always call it snow globe brain. When you have a million things going on in your head and you just kind of want to clarify something, it's all pretty general. For this example, I'm going to put, write a job posting for a concession manager role at XYZ Stadium. Full-time benefits and include core responsibilities. And hit enter. This is so impressive to me. I just go nuts every time I see this. So again, this is not going to be exactly what you want it to be, but this is a really good start for your job posting. You're not going to have to write all of that boilerplate stuff. You probably have the about your organization already. You can plug that in. You can also train all of this in a lot of the paid models. You can put your own writing samples in and it will start writing in your voice, which is pretty cool. I'm going to add one more demo here. And that's going to be, so you're hiring a new person. Let's create a 30, 60, 90-day plan for the person filling that job description. And you're going to know exactly what that onboarding looks like. If your company does not have very, very official onboarding, this is a really easy way to create that. And again, don't depend on it exclusively for what's coming up here. ChatGPT doesn't know what's most important to your organization and what will enable employee success. You know that. That's why you're in that seat. So make sure that you're adjusting this for what works. I have used this 30, 60, 90-day plan whenever I'm taking on new responsibilities to keep myself accountable and know where I have to be tracking to make sure that I'm delivering what I should. And I've used it in very broad strokes to speak to my leadership team and say, hey, this is the plan that I'm going for. Does this align with what you want? You definitely want to do that in the first week and not when you get to day 80 of the 90-day plan to make sure you're not aligned. So very, very cool stuff. I did not have it pulled up for a demo, but one of the other ways that I just recently used AI, if anybody is following the Earth Ranch LinkedIn site, there was a blog post from our fabulous innovation director. She's amazing. She did this whole article on trend flavoring that's coming out. And I didn't have any sort of appropriate graphic for the blog post that we wanted to reshare. So I had Canva generate one. I said, please create a graphic showing the following flavor profiles. And it created this awesome like tray of all these different spices and ingredients and stuff. It's really very, very cool. All right, other use cases for ChatGPT, only because that's the one that I demoed right now. Now, this is how quickly technology changes. ChatGPT just celebrated their 1-year birthday, and last week they were replaced by Gemini, Google's answer to ChatGPT. So it's already considered old technology. But I have not played with Gemini yet. I was getting ready for this, but I will definitely be playing with it later this week. So I'll skip ahead. I won't read the whole thing, but policies, blog content, social media posts. Again, like you kind of get all the enthusiastic stuff, you know what you want to say, but not exactly how you want to say it. It's great for starting out to copy and paste that stuff. In fact, that's why we're here today. I saw one of the NAC members had shared something that somebody else had written, and I thought for sure that it was AI generated. And I thought, oh, I wonder if they know that and if they're using it for their stuff, because it would save them a ton of time. And I know they love that kind of content. One of the things that I really enjoy is the list of questions to ask a mentor or an expert on the subject. And that's especially as you're going into NAC Expo and CinemaCon, you know who you kind of want to cross paths with and who you would love to meet. But do you really know if they said, sure, I'll give you 10 minutes, let's go get a cup of coffee, exactly what you're going to ask them? Or do you want to get your thoughts in order? It's a great way to handle that. Oh, and we'll skip back here. That very last one, creating a presentation on AI. So this was the presentation that ChatGPT picked out. These are the 14 slides. Now we're on page 25 of this deck, and it was a 14-page outline. So I definitely Theresa this thing up, but I didn't have blank pages when I started, which is hugely important when you're trying to share information. That staring at the blank page, I think, is the longest part of starting any project. So again, I can send this out. You're welcome to compare this outline to what was actually there to see what I deemed relevant to this group and what I wanted to build out further and what I scrapped. The last core concept that I wanted to talk about in understanding AI is that it's not static. The model of development mimics learning theory. And I have Kolb's experiential learning theory as a reference, it's one of my favorites. And, I kind of geek out about this stuff. But it shows that the learning doesn't only happen when you see something, but it's a continuous cycle. So this is the way learning theory works. Something happens, we reflect and observe on that, we draw conclusions from that, we make changes based on that experience, and then there's another experience, and there the cycle goes through. So that's what's showing to the left, and to the right is I caught ChatGPT in this live, so I had to do a screenshot for the presentation. It was really great. My question was, what are the top ethical concerns of using AI in business applications? And ChatGPT came up with 2 and said, which one do you prefer? Because it's studying the algorithm, it's making those changes and saying which one of these is better so that the next time somebody goes in, they have more information to build off of. And that too, I'll send it out, but it's really interesting what the differences are because overall it really looks similar, but it's just a little bit of a different voice and a different stance on it. And if you pull it out, it really can make all the difference. All right, so in closing today, I want to leave you with a quote from one of my favorite books, Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Essentialism is not about how you get more things done. It's about how to get the right things done. It doesn't mean doing less for the sake of doing less either. It's about making the wisest possible investment of your time and energy in order to operate at our highest point of contribution by doing only what is essential. So make sure when you think of what AI can do for you, the assignments that you're delegating enable you to act in your highest point of contribution. It should be a support that enables you to be more effective. And that's it for me. I do have a few more slides of references, but thank you, Chris. Thank you to the members of NAC, the Leadership Committee, and the Director of Education, Larry Etter, for letting me share this information with you. I hope that you found it helpful and you leave here feeling confident enough to participate in conversations regarding AI integrations into your business practices. Remember, it's always okay to ask questions about this stuff. If anybody claims to be an expert, that's a red flag. A lot of this technology is evolving way too quickly for anybody to claim expert status. The most knowledgeable people wouldn't claim expertise in any area that's evolving this quickly. Mm-hmm. I have a few references here to share. This is, and again, for if I'm sending this out, this LinkedIn post from Zane Khan. I love the title, If You're Not Learning ChatGPT, You're Falling Behind. If this stuff interests you and you want to know more, he's a really good person to follow on LinkedIn. He had lots of additional use cases in addition to the few that I had on the slide for ways that I use this. This is again his secondary, says follow up for his 10. These are all of the resources I used in creating this. So again, you can look at the article, figure it out. Once you start clicking on this, your feed is going to start populating. So you will be able to claim not expert status in no time. And if you'd like to continue this conversation, we're going to open a fresh Zoom link. There's not a great way to change this webinar into live interaction. So we did create a different Zoom link if you'd like to jump on and chat and ask additional questions. If it hasn't been posted in the Q&A, we'd like to keep the conversation going. If you can join us, that's great. If you can't, thank you so much for attending. I hope that you enjoyed it. And please take a moment to share your thoughts on this presentation using the QR code here. And Chris, I believe you'll be sending a follow-up invitation with a survey as well to share feedback, right?
That is correct. I do have a few questions. Maybe we could get some Q&A going here. I am going to share the link that you mentioned on the chat. And I'll also attempt to share it on the Q&A.
Sounds good.
But
And the password for that meeting, if you're jumping into that, is NAC. It'll be on my Zoom. So until we close out this presentation, I won't
yeah,
be on it, but
you'll
hopefully
be
you
on.
all can
Okay.
get in then.
And I'll do a couple different options to share the information. So one of the questions I had, trying to multitask here, sorry, Theresa. One of the questions I had, if you were in the audience today and took in this information, one for you to do. I know if you showed this to me, what would like I want to dabble my toes in the water, what would you do?
So I would start with personal projects at home. Like, well, first of all, like I always go to Chat GPT because that's what everybody is talking about. There are other platforms out there that are, really cool. I just found it to be super user friendly. And then when people talk about it, what's going on with it. Um, but I would start with something simple like my daughter's Halloween party in October, like put something in for name 5 different resources I could get ideas for kids' games for a birthday party or a Halloween party, something like that, where it's some pretty low stakes stuff. So that you're not worried about sharing data that you're not comfortable with, and you start to kind of see the responses that you're getting and where you're going.
I know I did Chat GPT. Would that be maybe the first way to go? I know you already said that
I think
a
so.
product called Gemini's out there too now, but there's others, obviously.
There's a ton of them out there, and a lot of them are paid. I tend to use the more popular ones because I think then if something goes awry, I'm pretty likely to hear about it. And I also always, I'm it's a real problem with me. I'm a data collector. I'm a data hoarder. So once I start going down those rabbit holes, it kind of takes a while. Once I've started looking at stuff, I'll look at a ton of different areas. So my news feeds are pretty crammed with some different AI stuff because of it. But I tend to only pick 2 or 3 different, like I say, I use Canva um, for all of the graphic stuff that I do. And the AI functions in there, not only can you just generate your own photos, but also if you have like a presentation, if we wanted to change this slide presentation into a small textbook, you can do that. They have a magic function to it, they call it, but that's what it is, and say, change this into a pamphlet instead.
All right. So I know one of the things I was pretty interested in when you were showing me this was the thought of using AI for a research tool and making sure that you are giving proper credit or accreditation. I noticed you did that within your presentation. At what uses is that you need to do that, and what are some other ones that you're really just looking for ideas?
I think that anything that's going to be shared publicly, certainly anything that you can make money off of, you want to be really careful about what you're letting AI just generate for you and what you're brainstorming and getting some basic information. Always take the information as if you're having a conversation with somebody. You're going to want to rewrite a lot of that stuff. Um, the the citations in there, I actually was able to pick up that information with how is academia dealing with this in my role at College Unbound. I'm very fortunate to be able to work with somebody who's actually leading the discussion in a lot of universities on what do you do with AI. And in my opinion, because I just think this person is fabulous, I think he's really pioneering the why not embrace it when a lot of other higher education facilities are saying, oh, no, no, we have to, just block this from students so they're not using it. He's saying, yeah, students should be using it. And so should teachers, and so should the administration. Like, this is an amazing tool. You should be using it. You should just always know when you're using it, and you should really understand the information coming out of it. You had mentioned research, and that was a key point that I actually forgot to bring up. One of the things I love is well, I don't love it when you find those like 20-page articles because somebody's really trying to optimize their SEO and it's a much longer article than it needs to be, and you want to get a general summary of what is this about. You can copy and paste that into an AI, into a chat GPT and say, give me a summary of this article. One of the things that you have to worry about when you do that, you definitely have to skim the article and make sure that it's not honing in on the author's counterpoint and saying that that's the author's opinion, because that could happen where they say, oh well, this person is saying this when really they're saying A, watch out for B. They're saying this person says B. Like, well, that's not accurate. So you do want to double check that, but it'll kind of give you a basic idea. It'll give you the cliff notes to check back for.
I know one of the things that I've done since you introduced me to ChatGPT was to use it to just break writer's block. Just that starting point. The starting point on a couple projects just got a lot easier. And actually, to be honest with you, on maybe 4 applications, I didn't use any of it, but it just got the ball rolling, right? And so, do you see that as a huge advantage, or do you see that as maybe AI forcing you down a path? As somebody who's writing something business related.
Yeah, really, really good question. And that too is when you really have to bring your critical thinking into it. Sometimes you learn what you don't want to say. You learn what you want to say by seeing what you don't want to say. And it's saying like, that's not what I'm going for. No, that's not what I'm going for, and putting a few different things in. And it can be, hey, I want to talk about this. And you look at it from every angle, and there's just nothing that you want to talk about. Maybe you want to talk about something else. But I think that it really does, it really gets you past that blank page syndrome.
And then I think finally for me, I know I had a lot of questions here, so I apologize, but finally for me, for us, for NAC, for yourself, and as you're involved, what are some of the next steps that we can do as far as, is there a point we maybe want to bring in some of our tech companies to help talk about this and give us maybe that next level of information that we might need?
Well, hopefully there are salespeople from the tech companies associated with NAC on this call, and they're already making notes for what they're going to tell us in the next one and how their technology is integrating this, how it's going to serve NAC members.
Very good.
Hopefully that's already happening. If it's not, we'll knock on a few doors and figure it out, because that they're bringing it all in.
Yeah. So I did put the address for the follow-up Zoom meeting. That'll start, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes or so after we end this one. I hope everybody can see that. I know the chat function was not turned on right away, but I think I should have been able to get that through to people, at least for them to see. So it's right there. If you just click your chat button, there should be a message from me to everybody with that link.
Excellent. And I saw Chris had his hand raised for a while. I don't know if you can ask your question live, Chris, or if we're going to have to jump to the other one.
Let me see if I can find that.
If not, maybe we'll just bounce over to the other one.
Yeah, the hand is down now, so we will hopefully they can join us on the next one. Hang on a second, we might pick something up. Okay, so this is more just a comment, but I think it reflects on what you've been saying. Is this is from Jim Cook, and he says he's been using ChatGPT for about a year and loves how it helps give ideas for writing anything from social media posts, emails, etc. Which I think maybe that gets back to my first question: is what would you do right away? Those I think are some of the applications where you can get really comfortable using the technology.
Yes.
And then also, I think as a follow-up to that, and this is more in the form of a question, does it take some time, Theresa, to develop the right way, the right things to put in chat to produce the result you're looking for. And then a follow-up is, and is that just a matter of just trying and then kind of refining as you go?
I think trying and refining as you go, the biggest thing that I have learned that I have to do, and this is going to shock everybody that knows me for the amount of words I have, but I have to put a word limit on stuff. Because if I say, you know, write a social media post, I know for Garden Bar, we were just accepted and they promoted us through the Kids Food Allergy Association. And I wanted to make an announcement for that, you know, like partnering with them and how this was going to go out. And when I just said, you know, write a social media post about this, I think I got like 5 paragraphs back, and nobody wants to read all of that. So it's like, okay, give me a 40-word social media post about this. And also be careful, especially with those with they plug in lots of emojis in there because that's just the speak of it. That's what people are doing. And one of ours in there that they put in there was a peanut. And specifically, we don't have peanut allergies in there, but that would be a really weird emoji to have in there. So yeah, definitely take a look at that stuff. But I think that once you're playing around with it, when you see what's there, then you figure out what you don't want. When you get a book back and you wanted a paragraph, you'll say, all right, 30 words.
Well, Theresa, thank you very much for the work you put in on this presentation. Terrific job. We will be looking to wrap this up, but again, just wanted to thank you. And I wanted to thank everybody for joining us. We will be trying to do these types of webinars more often as we get into 2024. We took a pretty nice long break from doing them, but I think we want to make sure that we're using all of our communication techniques to our advantage, and especially in the area of education, which NAC is quite proud of. So I'd like to thank everybody. We can all join Theresa in just a few minutes in a regular Zoom meeting by using that link that's in the chat function. And thanks again for joining us. And this has been a presentation of the National Association of Concessionaires, where food meets fun. So thank you very much for joining, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.
Thank you, Chris.